the choices the White House made about pretending that we didn't know things that we did know, I think are an overt politicization of the events.
Thank you. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Gowdy. You're next on my hit parade, I think.
I am, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman? Yeah. I started saying Your Honor. That was a previous job.
Yeah. I still get a gavel, but you're shown as next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in general, I am confounded. In fact, I continue to be confounded. And what I find so confounding is the administration's mantra hasn't changed. From Jay Carney to Hillary Clinton to the president himself to Ben Rhodes to even yesterday, Bernadette Meehan, the National Security Council. And maybe, Mr. Chairman, instead of teaching reading comprehension, maybe we ought to teach writing comprehension, because I don't understand what this statement means except the end of it. The content reflects what the administration was saying at the time, whatever that means, and what we understood to be the facts at the time. So that's the mantra, Mr. Chairman, in general, is that we use the best evidence we had at the time, the facts that we had at the time. So you can imagine, General, that would make someone who's interested in facts and evidence to say, okay, well then cite all the facts for me. Cite the evidence. If your mantra really is that we use the best facts and the best evidence we had at the time, then cite the facts for me. Call your first witness. Introduce your first piece of evidence. Because I'll tell you, the first piece of evidence I would introduce is from the State Department. Beth Jones to Cheryl Mills. Mr. Chairman, you know who Cheryl Mills is. Jake Sullivan. This is September the 12th. Mr. Chairman, this is well before the administration started misleading the American people. We've got an email from Beth Jones to Cheryl Mills and Jake Sullivan and a plethora of other people. I told him, with him being the Libyan ambassador, the group that conducted the attacks, Ansar al-Sharia, is affiliated with Islamic extremists. So that's the State Department that knew the day after that this video had nothing to do with the attack at Benghazi. So that's the State Department. CIA, station chief in Tripoli, Mr. Chairman, not, and for those who don't know what that word means, he repeated it again, not an escalation of protests. This is someone in Libya at the time. CIA says video had nothing to do with it. Now we go to DOD, military. What evidence did you have that this was an escalation of a protest rooted in spontaneity that got out of control and resulted in the murder of our 4 fellow Americans? Did the military have any evidence supporting the video narrative?
No, sir, there was none.
Well, that's what's so confounding, Mr. Chairman, is the State Department knew it wasn't a video. The CIA knew it wasn't a video, and for those that are a little bit slow, they repeated the word "not" twice. The military knew it had nothing to do with a video. But that brings us to the White House. And I know, Mr. Chairman, initially we were told that the White House had nothing to do with the drafting points, that Mike Burrell is the one who sanitized those and changed the word terrorist to extremist and changed it from attack to demonstration and did whatever he could to cast the administration in the most favorable light. We thought that it was just Mr. Burrell doing that until we got an email from Ben Rhodes, Mr. Chairman. Goal number 1, to convey that the United States is doing everything we can to protect our people and facilities. I'm glad that this is dated September 14, 2012, Mr. Chairman, because it sure as hell was not their goal before September 11. We've had hearing after hearing about the failure to provide security at our facility in Benghazi. So I'm glad that that was their goal after 4 of our fellow Americans were murdered, but it sure as hell was not their goal beforehand, or they would not have refused to provide security to that facility. Goal number 2, to underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. And therein we have our answer. The goal was to do everything we can to deflect attention away. from this feckless foreign policy we have in the Middle East that isn't working. Remember the mantra, Mr. Chairman? Al-Qaeda's on the run. GM's alive. Osama bin Laden's dead. Al-Qaeda's on the run. When really they're standing at the front door of our facility in Benghazi, getting ready to murder our ambassador and burn it down. And then yesterday, Mr. Chairman, you may remember the White House. I'm going to edit out all the stumbling and stammering that Jay Carney did. I'm just going to give you the nuts and bolts of what he said, is that this memo I just made reference to has nothing to do with Benghazi. Well, I find that interesting because of the third point, and I know I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman, but the third goal was to show that we are resolute in bringing people who harm Americans to justice. If that's not talking about Benghazi, where else did we have people harmed other than Benghazi, Mr. Chairman?
I thank the gentleman, and our goal is to bring people to justice, too. We now recognize the gentleman from Texas for 5 minutes.